Before this video gets started, I wanted to let you guys know this is the first official episode of Meet Your Maker, a video series where we take some of your favorite creators and knife or EDC business owners and do interviews on them. Talk to them about what everybody wants to know and how they operate from day to day. So I hope you guys enjoyed this one. This is a very special video with Rick, the owner of Ocaso Knives. Let's jump over there. Welcome back to the Crispy Donut community. My name is Samuel, and today we've got something a little bit different, but very special for you. Our special guest, Rick Valdez, founder of Ocaso Knives. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. How you doing, Sam?
Wonderful. It is such a blessing, such an awesome thing to have you on. An honor is the word I'm looking for. It's an honor to have you on. Someone who has been in the, knife company community for many years, longer than most of us. Some of us have been alive. How long have you been in the knife community?
Over 20 years.
I'm 22, so we're probably right there, almost longer than I've been alive. But as I said, it's my honor to have you on. So if you don't mind introducing yourself, who you are, where you're from, a little bit of that stuff.
Sure. Well, first of all, thanks for having me on this. This is pretty cool that I'm talking to you, and this is part of the CDC collaboration project that's going on. So thanks for having me. As you had mentioned, Rick Valdez, founder and owner of Ocaso Knives, a company that I started at the end of 2022. So that's about 19 months now. We're in Southern California, Ojai, California. That's just above Ventura. Ventura is the coastal city, but about 10-15 minutes up into the hills is where Ojai is. Very close to where Cold Steel Knives was based in Ventura, California. So, and making gentlemen's premium knives and everyday carry accessories.
And that's something really cool that you include there. Gentlemen's knives. That's very neat. It's cool that you have your sites. I know it's for everyone or anyone who wants to be a part of it, but it's really cool that you have your sites aimed at like those gentlemen. That's really neat. So you mentioned that you're really close to where Cold Steel was based out of. So if you don't mind me asking, like, how did that happen? First of all, let me ask you, how did you get into knives? And then I would guess that will lead into the story of how you started working at Cold Steel. So if you don't mind sharing that with us.
So that's kind of like a two-part question. So how did I get into knives? Well, I was born in Texas, and my grandfather had given me a knife, and back then it was very common as a young boy to be given a knife and to have a knife and to handle a knife. And that's how I got into it, is just being introduced with a pocket knife that my grandfather gave me. And I actually still have that knife. It's this little pocket knife that's over 40 years old.
Wow.
I think it was Providence Cutlery Company. It's a company that I'm no longer around, but it's one of the knives that got me into the knives. And then being in Texas, it's a Southwest town, and the border to Mexico was a couple hours away. And so every once in a while, I had grandparents that'd like to go down to Mexico and shop around. That was, I don't know if it's still a thing. I haven't been out there a long time, but it was the thing to go in there because these were small towns that I lived in, that my grandparents lived in. So there was no big supermarkets. There was, no place to really do that. You could go into San Antonio, or you can go into Mexico, across the border. So it was very common. And so the next knife that was in my life that's over 40 years old is this thing.
Wow.
So I bought this little thing, and I dug it out because, I have a collection of knives, of course. And so these two are the knives that kind of introduced me into that world. So it was knives that got me into knives, right? The fascination of them being cool in movies, in magazines, in comic books, and so forth. And then I moved around a lot. from Texas to Wisconsin, Wisconsin to Colorado, and then Colorado over to the West Coast. So kind of got out of, carrying a pocket knife for the longest time. And then where I'm going with this is how I was introduced into the knife business. And that's getting a job and position at Cold Steel Knives. And
Okay.
so that's how I got into the knife business. Just being available for a position. They called it a sales position for a weapons company.
Ah,
A
put a little
weapons company.
spice on it, huh?
What's that?
I said they put a little spice on it, huh?
They did, and I said I didn't care. I was always in sales before that, and I was selling life insurance, and
Oh,
it's feast or famine when it comes down to selling life insurance. And so I wanted another position, another role, and when they said weapons company, I didn't care. And I
yeah.
think they did that because they wanted to make sure they wanted serious individuals to come in to interview. And I did. And this was in early 2000 when I came in and interviewed with Mr. Lynn Thompson and the controller at the time, John Nielsen, um, and got the job right then and there. And he asked when I could start. I said, I'll start today. I'll start right now. He said, no, why don't you come back in a week? Because this is where they're just about to close. They were on a fiscal year schedule and they were going to
Mm.
close for physical inventory. So I know it was early 2000s of July that I started, and the rest is history. That's how I got into the knife business.
That's very funny. I mean, I myself have made this comment when making videos of my own that knives are tools. But if any knife company makes weapons, it's got to be Cold Steel.
And that's in Mr. Thompson. That's we're a weapons company, and he didn't want to
Mhm.
dance around it. He's
Right.
one individual that he believed in something and fought for everything that he accomplished, and
Mhm.
including yeah, we were a weapons company. We
Yeah.
made knives and we made tools, but the bottom line, everything that we made was a weapon.
Yep.
And he did a heck of a job at it, man.
Yeah.
He
That's
conquered,
awesome.
he kicked ass, and did a good job.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with making a good weapon here and there, right?
That's right.
Okay, so that was my question of like how it happened. So just a sales position opened up from the sounds of it, right? Of how you stepped foot into Cold Steel. Now, let me ask you, over your how many years were you at Cold Steel?
Close to 20 years.
Close to 20 years. Over your
Yeah,
20 years, what was your position at Cold Steel and what was kind of the effect that you had on the company?
I came in there as a sales guy, and the sales director. And back that at that time, it was dialing for dollars. Picking up the phone and calling all the dealers and looking at their sales reports and who had bought what and who was buying what and who wasn't buying what, all that stuff, and just trying to just do my job. And at that point, I was hungry, I was driven, I was determined, to make something of myself. And it was very fitting. I think Cold Steel was having some issues trying to bring in a salesperson or individual and stay in that role.
Mhm.
But it worked for me because that's what I enjoyed doing. Talking to dealers, talking to customers. I also had come off a great training program. So it was New York Life Insurance that I'd worked for, and they had a great training program on how to do sales calls, how to make sales calls, how to manage your sales calls, and so forth. So I was coming right off that, and so I applied that at Cold Steel, and I enjoyed it. It was pretty easy, you
Yeah.
know, and and
Really?
and and even back then, Lynn was making quality stuff. It was
Mhm.
top quality stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that also made it easier. It's just a matter of just getting out there, reaching more dealers, knocking on more doors, and that's what I did. So I started off as the sales guy and just worked my way up and got promoted. Eventually, ended my role as executive vice president.
Wow.
When Lynn sold in December of 2020 to GSM.
Mhm. That's insane. Now, as we were talking about earlier, I think actually late last week on the phone, we didn't have all the YouTubers and stuff back then. So why don't you share how you guys would get the video out and the word out? I found it quite fascinating, quite hilarious too.
It was pretty. It was pretty darn cool. Lynn had put me in his gymnasium like the first 2 days. I sat down in his gymnasium and plopped in a VHS tape. Okay. And I hope there's a lot of people that know what a VHS
Uh,
tape is. And watched that. And Lynn had put together this marketing video, and it was torture testing his products, showing how
mhm.
sharp they were, how strong they were, what they can do. And I was just in awe. And so I needed to know the product knowledge, and that definitely, gave me all that knowledge. And after watching that, it was like, wow, Lynn, this is great. I've always liked knives, and I didn't know knives could do that. And I
Yeah.
remember this, just like it was yesterday, Lynn leaned into me and he said, not all knives can do that. Cold steel knives can do that. And,
Oh,
it's like, oh, this is great.
yeah.
I love working for this guy, and I think I'm selling cool stuff. And I was really fired up after watching that. And it quickly went from VHS to DVD, right?
Yeah.
And so that was our marketing piece. And that DVD, before, like you said, YouTube and the internet the way it is today, and social media, no influencers, it was getting that DVD out into the end consumer, and it definitely created the demand from the bottom up. You
Yeah.
know, Tons of people watched that, and then they'd go and ask dealers, "Hey, do you carry cold steel?" And then the dealers were calling distributors, and then what happened? It just blew up. It just because we got that out there. We just totally got it out there.
Yeah, cold steel. I remember I didn't get into knives until about the age of 19, so really 3 years ago. And but I grew up in a world where, like, I, I think it's about as far back as I remember. I know what cold steel is. They make knives. It's like, so like, I think whatever you guys did, it definitely worked. Definitely worked.
It did, and it was trying to get that out to as many people as possible. I would throw hundreds of those DVDs in all the dealers' orders, and then several hundred DVDs and all the
Wow,
distributor orders. And I told them that they need to give these DVDs out. I told
that's cool.
retailers, put these DVDs at your cash register and put it in bags. I don't care if they're buying a flashlight or someone else's, if they're buying another brand, knife brand,
Hmm.
and people would watch it. I just watched this DVD, and do you have this knife? And dealers would call and say, people are saying they watched this DVD and they're asking if I carry cold steel. What's going on? Well, it was Lynn's idea to put together this marketing, um, these videos, and it worked. It totally worked.
And for anyone who might not like be able to visualize this, I'm sure we'll probably throw a little something up here. But 2 words: pig carcass. I mean, that's that's like the iconic videos of Lynn chopping through those pig carcasses with those knives and stuff. It's very iconic. But so, well, that leads us from how you got into knives, what you did at Cold Steel, to where kind of things ended at. You said, what year did he sell to GSM?
December of 2020, Lynn sold to GSM.
So we went from that to you starting your own brand. So I'd love to talk to you a little bit about that, because we've talked enough about your passion about cold steel. I mean, this is an interview about you, for Christ's sake. So what
Yeah.
got you to start Ocaso Knives?
Well, I, I then Thompson Cold Steel was making these awesome, huge, knives, big knives. They served a purpose.
Mhm.
And I always wanted a more gentleman style knife, a lighter knife, but we didn't make any of those. I will say that I showed you the little switchblade that I got when I was over,
Mhm.
a young man over 40 years ago. But back in 2004, 2005, Lynn came out with the 60 series. and there was this Spectre.
Oh wow.
And if you notice, it's a slim knife. So that drew my attention.
Oh
Um,
yeah, that's beautiful.
so this was 2004. I think that he introduced it coming out of Japan with Sanmai steel. And so this is the knife that I wore, this slim little knife. Now GSM they reached into the vault and they came out with a few of the pieces of the 60 series. I think the Caledonian and then another version of this, and it looks pretty slick. They're all blacked out. They have carbon fiber on the handles. But that was my slim knife that I started wearing in early 2000, and then after that, Lynn had come out with the Lucky and Lucky One, one that has one blade. These are slip joint knives.
Oh yeah, wow, those are beautiful.
And so these were coming out of Italy, carbon fiber, and I started wearing these. And why? Because a lot of times I was the guy wearing a suit. I was wearing the slacks, and I didn't want anything weighing down, my shirts or the suit pocket. And so it all started there, and so that's kind of how it spun into, what you're seeing now with Ocaso Knives. These lightweight, slim style knives. But in addition to this, there's other slim style knives out there that exist by CRKT, Boker, and much respect to those guys. But that's what it is, coming out with products that are in relation to my style and that I think the market will like.
Yeah. Well, might I say, Lynn, the big, huge choppers, the cane sword, all that fits him very well. Might I say, the slim, just like you just said, the Ocaso, like the Solstice, fits your aesthetic, I guess you would say, very well. Very clean cut, like you said, in a suit, stuff like that. Well dressed. I hear a lot of talk about the loafers. People joke about the loafers. You wear the nice Italian loafers. Fits you very nicely, I might say.
Well, appreciate that. And it's working. There's been a lot of positive comments and support on that. And it's an Andrew Demko design.
Right. And that's a thing I forgot to cover in my video that I made on it, which is just I did such a disservice there. So we definitely need to let that be known here. Andrew Demko, if anybody doesn't know the name Andrew Demko, they've had to live under a rock. So yeah, now there's another thing, and I'm sure it goes back again to the Cold Steel days, but how did you kind of get tied up with Andrew Demko, and like what led into him designing? Does he design one or two models for you guys?
A lot of models.
A lot of models? Okay, here's my question. I could have sworn that the strategy was designed by him, but according to the website, it's not.
It's Mike Wallace.
Mike Wallace, okay. All right.
Mike Wallace and him are best friends.
Ah.
And so Mike Wallace now also works for Andrew Demko. But Mike Wallace, Mike Wallace was also a designer at Cold Steel, and there was a few models that he had created for Cold Steel. But and so that's how I know Mike Wallace, and that's how I met Andrew Demko.
Awesome.
So it's over 15, 16, 17 years that I've known Andrew. He's the inventor of the Triad lock, and as you know, many other locks, including his current Shark lock, the Scorpion lock. And he's just brilliant when it comes down to things like that. And I believe he's sitting on a handful of other patents too that are pretty amazing.
Oh,
wow. or ideas, I should say. But that guy is just nonstop and just great at what he does. And he remembers the Spectre. I sent him a whole bunch of, because I like collecting pens, and I sent him a whole bunch of my pens, and he knew I like carrying, slim little knives. And out came the Ocaso Solstice. And a lot of people, and I say this a lot of people don't believe that's an Andrew Demko design, but
yeah, I know, right? Well, when you go from things like the 8010, the 8015, the 8020, and 20.5, it doesn't look like a Demko design, but that is really, I guess that shows you the skill that he has to be able to go from one side to another. But here's a question for you: Will we be seeing the Shark lock on any Ocaso knives in the future?
But we haven't discussed that, but there has been discussions about another lock on the
Oh,
Solstice.
okay.
So I will say this: there's a handful, more than a handful of Andrew Demko projects on the list right now. Um, as you know, he has his own brand and he's super busy.
Yeah.
He's in high demand. I'm still, it's still a husband and wife team on my end. So there's so much bandwidth that I have. There's so much bandwidth that he
Yeah.
has. Um, and just so the answer is maybe another lock on the Solstice. In addition to other projects that Andrew Demko has, kind of sketched out and turned in, and we've discussed. And I'm excited about that. I'm totally excited about that.
Now, we discussed this, and I'll just go off on the side and just let it be known. Um, we have what would you call it? A graphic that you guys made us, and it's on your website as well for the specifications of your knife. And you were talking about how it's still a husband and wife company. Your wife's graphic design skills on those specification sheets are beautiful. If you guys go to our website, or it might be, just some of the images we've posted on Instagram, or if you go to the Ocaso website and you look at that beautiful, like, drawn up spec sheet with the knife in the middle, she did a fantastic job on that. I just kind of wanted to, I guess, lift her up a little bit and say that was fantastic. And I'm sure, if you're anything like me, without the wife, it would be a lot harder than it is, I'm sure.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up, because she has been a huge piece to the Ocaso brand, and she is a graphic designer. That's what she went to school for and studied. And I met her at Cold Steel. That's where we met. She
It's a
works.
knife love story. How about that?
Yeah, and Lynn Thompson was the matchmaker.
Oh,
Believe it or not.
wow.
And so she worked in the catalog department, the graphics design department, upstairs, and I'm downstairs, if you will, right? And so I really didn't see her. But Lynn saw something in her. Lynn saw something in me. And my life was super crazy. I mean, I was working always, all the time for Lynn. Even coming in on the weekends, and maybe he saw that I didn't have a life and he felt bad, and
Give you
and
a pity love.
what's that?
I gave you pity love. Is that what it was?
And your suggestion, maybe you need to ask her out. I'm just like, Lynn, I don't know if she'd go out. She's not my type, and I don't know. And but it eventually happened, and the rest is history. And we have two lovely kids. We've been together for a long time. But yes, props to her, what she's done. She did a lot at Cold Steel for several years. She wasn't there as long as I was. She worked there for like 7 years and then went off to pursue graphic designing elsewhere for other companies. I think that was important. As our relationship got serious, it was better that way, and it worked out. But that's where we met. Thank you for recognizing that. Yeah, she is doing so much on the back end, and she loves doing it, and she's going to continue to do it because I guess it's in her blood too, right?
That's good. It's good to have a partner that's driven. So, all right. So we'll kind of recap the story here. We went from how you got into knives to steel to starting Ocaso. How in the world did you go from working for a huge multi-million, if not billion-dollar company, doing all these awesome things, starting your own brand, and then get tied up with a bunch of goobers like the guys at Crispy Donut Community? How does that happen? Please explain, because I need to know.
It is a simple story. Smoky Mountain Knife Works has a fall festival every October, and they have had this festival for several years, just on and on and on. We used to send some of our Cold Steel employees to this event. It still takes place, so of course here I am. I have to get out there. It's called the Smoky Mountain Fall Festival / Rep Weekend. So an associate from the company or a rep that's repping a certain brand can be there to stand behind the case and represent whatever brand or whatever product that Smoky buys and purchases. In the case, is Ocaso Knives and the CDC product. Okay, so so I saw that, and then I saw them come in, on the first day, and I didn't know who they were, but I had recognized, I've seen on social media some of their work, and man, these guys just out the gate were the coolest guys, just very, very approachable, and we hit it off. We hit it off, and I hung out with them the entire weekend. That Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and we got to talking. The idea came up about, how about a collaboration? And I was still so new at the game. I now realize how important collaborations are, right? To work with other people, and how cool it can be, and how fun, and so the idea came up, and we didn't really confirm, the project right then and there, but I kept running into them at trade shows, you know. And these guys were genuine. They're still cool. They have a fan base. They have a following, and I just didn't know how to combine my gentleman style brand with their fun,
Yeah.
pink and blue branding. And I talked to my wife about it. I said, let's do it. Let's give it a shot. Let's try it out. And they were like, yay! And they said, this is what we wanted on the Solstice. This is the blade shape. This is the hardware and the color blade. And then I was just like, is that going to work? And I ended up putting one together, and it's like, holy smokes. It looks cool, man. I mean,
Yeah,
it,
it is
it works. I mean,
yes, it does. And
it
again, shout out to Way of Knife because again,
yeah,
that is one of the best anodization jobs I have ever seen. It is so clean. And I'm not just saying this because I
it,
work for these guys. Like, take CDC out of it, and I'll talk as Samuel for a minute. That anode job is impeccable. I am very, very impressed with that.
so am I. Yeah, they did a heck of a job, man. Props
Yeah.
to them.
Well,
It's just
that's a cool story though, how you guys got together, and I'm hoping that I'll be there this time too. The bad thing is they scheduled Blade Show West, and
yes.
the weekend, the same weekend. Well, Blade Show West and the Smoky Mountain thing are the same weekend, so I'm gonna have to talk to the people over at the other company that I work with and see where I'm going. But I wouldn't mind at all if I ended up in Tennessee this year. So
Well, the Smoky Mountain Knife Works showroom store it's a destination. I'd
hmm
been there years ago, and there's been a lot of changes, a lot of wonderful changes, beautiful, positive, growth and direction that they're heading. Um, and it's just a great place to you put it on your list if you don't go, in October for their fall festival because it interferes with Blade Show West. At some point, you need to go out there, and you got to take an entire day and a half to walk that entire store because it is huge. It's
oh
just
yeah,
gigantic.
we went in March for my birthday. We went for
Okay.
the whole weekend, and
Okay.
actually, Smoky Mountain Fall Festival is where I met Joe Flowers, who got me to go to another event, Georgia Bushcraft, which is what got me to start traveling to these events and got me into this predicament I am now with working with all these different companies. So, yeah, that actually Smoky Mountain Knife Works is where it kind of all started, and we just happened to go. I mean, I was in knives, but didn't plan on going up there the weekend of the fall festival. But we went on a trip with some family friends and just happened to be up there on the weekend that all that was going on. So it was a really cool thing to witness and see. And that's what kind of lit the spark and got me going to other things. So, yes, if anyone watching this has never been to Smoky Mountain Knife Works, whether it be especially on the retailer weekend, the fall festival weekend, but if you've never been just in general, go. It's an awesome place. Greg and TC both usually work weekdays. You might be able to run into them or something. They're awesome guys. But aside from all that, one of the coolest. If you're a knife guy, you'll need like 6 or 8 hours in there. I think the first time I went, I spent 6 hours in there. It was crazy.
There's a lot going on. Yeah, it's a great place.
Yeah. But yeah, so you got the collaboration going and all of that, which is awesome, and we're really excited for that. We have been fully funded on Kickstarter already. I think I've already said that, and we got the Project We Love award, which means I don't really know what that means. It's a badge, but I think it means Kickstarter is going to kind of push us across the Kickstarter platform a little bit, kind of show people, hey, these guys are doing some cool stuff. So that is absolutely awesome. So my question for you is, what things do you have coming up in the future, or what things would you like to see for Ocaso in the future?
Well, I'm going to continue down the path that I'm heading because it's a script. It's a message that works. So you'll see other similar style knives by other designers. I'm working with three other designers. There's three projects by three different designers that I'm working on right now for a launch, of course, in January of 2025 at SHOT Show.
Awesome.
Maybe do some revealing at the end of the year. Fixed blade knife in the works. I mean, there's a lot of things that they're in
But
the
you can't
works.
talk about.
I don't know if I should share, too much.
Yeah. Well, you say fixed blade. I'm really excited for that because I love your take on knives. Like even the strategy. It is a bit of a gentleman's knife, but like, I mean, this is a great work knife as well with the ergonomics and the build of it. I love this knife, so I'm excited to see your take on a fixed blade because I'm sure it will be gentlemanly yet easy to carry and probably still very usable.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I just want to say quickly that the Solstice is the Monday through Friday boardroom type knife,
Mm-hmm.
right? The good looking knife, the going out knife, but then the weekend knife is the strategy. We can throw that in your gear bag or your jeans and take out and really put it to
Yeah.
work. So, but yeah, and then other everyday carry, I guess accessories. I mean, there's going to be category expansions.
Wow.
The leather goods, I'm going to continue to blow that up, even though we're taking a stab at it very slowly right now. I've been talking to a couple watch companies at this point in
Oh.
time. A couple pen companies have already approached me as well. The desk knife category, I'm going to just kind of expand on that as well. That's getting a lot of discussion, a lot of talk. Um,
Yes, those are absolutely awesome. Those I like those a lot.
it's a neat piece, for those
Mm-hmm.
that have an appreciation for good looking stuff or pieces, on their desk. My desk, as I'm looking down, it's not as clean and simple as it used to be. It's got tons and tons of little knives on it right now. But this is cool. I'll expand this, and these will be out the market in a few weeks.
Awesome.
Um, I guess I will say this. I want there to be a true story behind the first knife that I got. This little pocket knife that was given to me by my grandfather. The old classic looking one blade style knife. I have many slip joints sitting on
Ah.
my desk that I've been studying. So maybe some of that stuff is going to be coming into lineup also.
I would love to see an Ocaso slip joint again. And yes, I've got you in here for the interview and all that, but not to blow smoke or anything. But you guys have a great design language, and I would love to see your take on a slip joint because that's something that the market is slowly starting. Well, I say slowly, I guess somewhat rapidly growing for modern slip joints. So I would love to see something from you guys. That would be awesome.
Yeah, I think, I, yeah, that's all I can
Yeah,
say.
yeah. All you
I
can
like,
say.
I
I
like,
understand.
I've always liked slip joints. I like slip joints, and yeah, and the list can
Yeah,
go on and on. But again, it's I'm just one man at this point in time. So product development, it is a full time position. It's a team. It's a division. It's a department. But there's only one of me at this point in time. Now there are some strategic decisions that are taking place right now because it's reached a point where I do have to, as I grow, I cannot continue to do what I'm doing by myself. Because
right.
I'm obviously a pinch point. I'm a pinch point. I recognize that. But those type of things you need to recognize quickly because if you're doing one thing, then 10 other things aren't getting done, right? And
Right.
then you go and do this, 10 other things aren't getting done. So there's going to be some infrastructure, operational changes, positive changes taking place, to help me continue to grow and to get out there, which is good. I
Yeah.
love the steady growth that's taking place with Ocaso, and that's all taking place because of a lot of the support, and the help, and I'm still so new, right? I think I had mentioned I'm still shaking hands and kissing babies at this point in time,
Yeah.
and it's one follower at a time. It's one dealer at a time, and that's what it takes. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with
Right.
that. And thanks to you guys, and thanks to everyone else out there that's supported me and my wife and the brand so far.
Well, it's been great to work with you guys. I had to just for everybody watching, I had to make a personal apology to Rick when we first had a phone call because he sent these out to EDCNC, not Crispy Donut. This was my bad. And I never did do a full review on them. I did include them in at least one video. I might have lied to you the other day and said two. Sorry about that if I did. But at least one video. But I never did a dedicated review. I apologize, and I will be making that right. But so we talked about slip joints. We talked about all these different things. So here's the question that I didn't ask you, or that I didn't, let you get prepared for. What is your favorite knife? Whether it be in your collection, one you've had in the past, no matter like whatever. And I know this is such a hard question to ask, but what is your favorite knife?
My favorite knife in my collection is a knife that was presented to me by my factory, that I believe I will at some point introduce. But it's a Black Dunes
Oh
Damascus
my.
blade with uh, a Damascus frame lock.
Wow.
Yeah, this thing is pretty darn incredible, and it's cool. So this is basically my carry on special occasions, and my favorite knife. I mean, I don't know if this does it justice, but just looking at this, all Damascus from the frame lock to the
Yeah.
blade is so freaking cool.
That is beautiful.
And that Black Dunes is just something. So that's my favorite knife in my collection. Now, I'll carry two or three of my knives, but my other knife that I like to carry and that I use a lot, and it's the truth, is the Seton. This is a nice little workhorse knife for me. It sits and it lives at the bottom of the pocket because it doesn't have a clip, but it's got this nice little leaf-shaped blade. It's nice and pokey and helps me cut open boxes when I'm out in the warehouse working at, I don't know, opening boxes and so forth.
Yeah.
And then speaking of, a lot of people say, they wish that Seton had a clip on it. So it's in the works.
Oh yes, and a milled one at that.
Yeah,
Awesome.
it's in the works. Okay.
Yeah. There you go. Everyone can calm down now. Now,
In,
another question I have for you, and I apologize. I didn't know I was going to ask this question. You have a new model coming out. It is carbon fiber and Damascus steel, with a Tonto blade. Very nice knife. What is the name of that knife? My apologies for not
the
already knowing
Delos,
this.
the Delos,
Say that. Delos.
the Delos. That's a Kurt American design,
Okay.
and I mean, he was so cool to allow me to introduce one of his designs into our lineup. And I need to apologize because those are knives that I was getting ready to talk about and set on my desk, but they're not on my desk. I
Oh,
don't
you're
have a
fine.
shipment. The only thing I have are two prototypes. Well, this is another prototype. Blue and Black Dunes are in the lineup, but this is a red that you might see
Wow.
in the lineup later. But yes, a modified Tanto point made in Italy, the high grade titanium frame lock with fat carbon, blue and Black Dunes in the lineup. I apologize. I guess I spaced it.
Oh, you're fine. What was
Uh,
that knife you had in your hand?
It's another prototype, but it's just a different color.
Yes, that's the one I was talking about. That is beautiful. I love that. Will we be seeing? My question was, will we be seeing a maybe K110 G10 version of that one in the future?
Yeah, the strategy will definitely expand. There'll be different variations of that, different blade shapes, different sizes, different handle material.
Oh no, but
Um,
I was speaking of the prototype you have in your hand. I didn't know if in the future you were going to do a version of that that was more on the budget end with the K110 and
yes,
G10.
yes, 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 yes,
Awesome.
yes, because I get asked that a lot, and
I'm
so
sure you do.
no, you have to listen. It's the voice of the customer, the voice of the
Hmm.
market, and listen to what they're saying. And absolutely, it really makes sense. I mean, that's yeah, this one's a really high end one coming out of Italy. But in terms of a lower price point version, yes, 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 and same thing with that. As I was just saying on the strategy, different blade shapes, different handle
Hmm.
materials, different
It's a
sizes. Um,
beautiful design. Very
yeah,
beautiful
pretty
design.
cool looking. I just going back what you said. What are some of the other plans that Ocaso has? If I can go back to that quickly,
Yeah, absolutely.
knives made in the U.S.,
Ah,
Magna Cut, more premium steels, yes.
awesome.
Um, People have asked me, are you open to working with some of the top, China companies out there? There's the Rias, the Best Techs, the
Hmm.
QSPs, and so on, so on, so on. So I've been talking to a couple of them as well. So I'm open to that. Um, Maybe some autos, a gentleman style auto in the lineup.
Ah, that
So
would be really cool.
yeah, I wish I can get to a lot of the stuff that we have
Yeah,
going on sooner versus later. But
time restraints. I'm sure it's like you said. You're only one man. Well, one man and one woman operation. It's there's only so much you guys can do. I'm sure, but it's really cool to see the the steady growth of the company where you guys started from and where you're heading. It's really cool to see. And honestly, as I guess I kind of speak for Crispy Donut community here, and to be a part of it too. That's really cool. And I'm sure I can speak for Luke and Drew both here when we say we're very thankful for you doing this collaboration with us and for allowing us to, you know, I know whenever you do a collaboration with someone or whenever you work with someone, you kind of, I guess, are vouching that I believe that you guys will do a good job with our product. So we really appreciate you trusting us with that. So thank you very
no,
much.
yeah, look, man, this has been great. It's been a learning experience for me as well. Luke and I talk a lot. I mean, I'll pick up the horn and talk to him, and next thing you know, it's been an hour and a half. We're
Yeah.
just chatting. What are we talking about? A lot of things. Life
Yeah.
and then the project and other things. And there's some things that I'm still very teachable. By all
Mhm.
means, I don't. There's no freaking way I know everything. There's no way.
Nah.
I'll never say I do. So the things that he says, there's a lot of teaching moments that take place when I'm on the phone with him, and it's been a great relationship. So it's gone beyond this project. I hope we do many other things together. I think he's going to be him and Drew are going to be in my life for a long time, and it's the relationships and the connections that I'm making too that have been very important to me. And there's been so many that have taken place, since I've started Ocaso, and that's also been a blessing. I've been grateful for that. Uh, I think meeting you two for the first time. So yeah, you've got the strategies in hand. So you're one of the first
Yes.
guys that approached me. So
Yeah, I came up to you at Blade Show Atlanta. Yes, and then failed you and let you down completely. I am
you,
so sorry. But I mean, I'm with you on that. That it's a lot about the connections. I mean, we were talking about Smoky Mountain Knife Works earlier, and Greg and TC both are good buddies of mine. Love them to death. We're not best friends by any means, but got to go up there with them in this past March and hang out with them for a few hours and walk around the store with them and all those different things. Some of these guys in the community like Ricky Hernandez, Taylor Martin, there's quite a few people that I could list off that are just you get to know them, you get to hang out with them at these events, and you make friends that will more than likely last a lifetime. And it's
yeah,
a blast to get to know these people. And I really want to focus on one thing you said just a minute ago about listening to the customers. I want to say, as a customer, I greatly appreciate that because, I mean, I'm not going to call any names here, but we've got a lot of these brands that, outgrew having to listen to the customers as far as like, they listen to Walmart and they listen to all these other brands or all these other companies that sell the product, whatever, so on and so forth. I know the end goal is the customer wants this, that's what's going to sell. But just straight from owner of the company to the customer, straight from the customer's mouth to the owner's ear. There we go. That's what I was trying to say there. It's really great to hear that that's still happening. And I'm sure I can speak for everyone when I say thank you for listening to the customer, because it means a lot. And I truly believe that the companies that listen to the customer are going to be the ones that live through the next 10, 20, 30 years. And so.
Well, I hope so. And there's no substitute for that. When I go to trade shows and I'm talking to, a customer, I just love it. I love it. I didn't have that opportunity before. And so I'm having a blast doing that. And a customer will call me up. Matter of fact, a customer called me this morning and just, it started off with just a customer service question and ended up being like a 30-minute phone call because we just started talking about, knives in the industry.
Yeah.
And meeting them as friends too, right? Some of these customers meeting them as friends and them becoming friends, and then saying, hey, there's a blade show, in Texas and in Atlanta and then Utah. You in that area, you should go to it. Come by my booth. And it's happened one time. Hey, Rick, we talked on the phone. It's like, it's a pleasure meeting you. So I'm going to continue to do that as long as I can because it's been a wonderful experience so far. Wonderful, positive experience.
That's awesome to hear. So I didn't even think about the fact that since you're a one-hand team, I guess you're the one that handles customer service as well, aren't you?
Call me up. It's me that's answering the phone. It's me answering those emails. Me or my wife. But absolutely.
Well, that's absolutely awesome. Well, before we go, is there anything you would like to announce? I guess the word would be plug. Is there anything you would like to plug that's maybe a new Ocaso drop coming up soon? Whatever's going on with your life.
I just want to focus on this guy, man. I think it's so cool. I think it's everyone's done a great job on it. And I look forward to many more projects like this. I think this idea with CDC can go on and on. I hope that this is just not the first one and that they're happy with all the results and what's going on, what's happening. I hope the end consumer is happy with it. And I'd like to keep going with them. Not just as friends, and hanging out with them here every once in a while, but with more projects with them. So I just want to focus on this. Let's do this. Yeah. Let's go. This little Warncliffe's CDC Solstice is great.
Well, I mean, I'm not. I don't get to make any decisions for the company. I'm just the questionable looking face on camera. But I can say that we're very happy with the way it turned out, and we're already, as of the recording. Actually, as of last me checking, we were up to, I believe, 30 backers. So if you guys want to find this knife, the Crispy Donut Community, Ocaso Collaboration, Solstice, Warncliffe, Titanium, S35VN, about anything you want out of a knife, you can find it at www.donutknife.com. The Patreon should be linked there. If you can't find it there, just type in Crispy Donut Community Patreon, and it should come up. You can fund this knife. Of course, the first day is already gone. There was a special price for that. And then I believe it's within the first, I guess the whole Kickstarter is about 15 days. You'll get a cheaper price. And then I think that's it. I think we're just doing however many we get ordered. And then after that, I'm sure this is, as we were just saying, I'm sure this isn't the last time you'll ever see something from Ocaso Knives and Crispy Donut Community. So Rick, thank you so much for coming on. Again, any last words, anything you'd like to say?
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody. And I just, I always forget to do this too. I just want to give a big thanks to Len Thompson too for, he taught me a lot. I wouldn't be in this position at this point in my life if it wasn't for him and his teachings. And believe you me, there were a lot of teachings. Andrew Demko and I have talks, a lot of business talks, collaborations, and talking about designs and projects. but a lot of the times Lynn comes up, and that's how
Hmm.
important he is in our life, in our lives. And he's a neighbor. You know, he just lives up over the
Oh
hill,
wow.
and but thank you to everybody. Thank you to you, and then thanks to you know to everyone else. Thank you, thank you,
Yeah.
thank you.
Well, yes, of course. Thank you to everyone watching this. I hope you guys enjoyed that video. If you did, please like, comment, subscribe, and remember, stay crispy. I'm here with Rick, and we're out of here. See ya.